2025's shaping up to be the year for messy and chaotic codependent friendships. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2025 Sundance Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2025 romantic comedy remake, The Wedding Banquet, which will be released in theaters on April 18th. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and even some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. The Wedding Banquet stars Kelly Marie Tran, Bowen Yang, and Gladstone, and was directed by Andrew Ahn. Based on the 1993 film of the same name, it tells the story of two queer friends who devise a mutually beneficial sham green card marriage, only for their scheme to be upended when the grandmother of the groom insists on an elaborate wedding banquet. One of the most important lessons any film lover can learn is to not let expectations dictate your movie watching experience. Certainly don't let them unduly influence your feelings on a film you watched, but also don't let them decide for you what movies you're willing to or not willing to watch. If you do, I can promise you that you're gonna miss out on a lot of great movies. Now, I'm somebody who will watch anything, regardless of my actual interest in it. It comes with the job, I guess. I always give movies a fair shake, but even I still need to remind myself to apply this lesson from time to time. This was seemingly the year of remakes at Sundance, something that honestly kind of feels like it goes against the spirit of the festival. And I'll admit that The Wedding Banquet was initially a film I had essentially no interest in. A rom-com remake with a popular ensemble cast didn't exactly scream priority to me when I was building out my festival schedule. But the P&I screening happened to fit my schedule, so I added it primarily because I figured the big names would draw people and it'd be popular enough that I'd have to see it eventually anyway. Well, within the first 20 minutes, that feeling of obligated apathy disappeared, and was instead replaced by entertained investment. I saw 54 movies at Sundance this year, and The Wedding Banquet was easily my biggest surprise of the festival. Now, surprising may not be what you'd expect from a film like this. I mean, remakes are pretty standard and decidedly unsurprising in the current cinematic landscape, though, to be fair, they don't often grace the screens of theaters in Park City. This film is a remake of Ang Lee's influential 1993 queer rom-com of the same name. It uses that original film as a base, but updates the themes and changes the story up enough to make it truly stand apart as a unique film in its own right. I think most people will probably agree that this is an example of a remake done right. Although the sham, straight green card marriage is still central to the plot, many of the details of the scenario, and perhaps more importantly, the players, have changed. This remake focuses on four close friends composed of two couples, one gay and one lesbian, who concoct the unlikely marriage plan for mutually beneficial reasons. So the basic essence of the story remains the same. It's just been updated for a modern crowd with millennial sensibilities. Ironically, one of the things I was most skeptical of ended up being one of the film's biggest assets: the cast. There is one prominent exception, but a quick glance at the cast list here reveals a lot of big names. Oscar winners and nominees, SNL cast members, big blockbuster actors. It certainly gives the impression of something very commercial. But these individuals actually come together to form a wonderful ensemble. Kelly Marie Tran and Gladstone play one of the couples in this film. And although I wish Gladstone had been given a bit more to do here, it was nice to see them both get a chance to show off their comedic chops. Speaking of which, the other couple is made up of Bowen Yang and Chan. It's no surprise that SNL star Yang is entertaining, but big screen newcomer Chan certainly holds his own here, with an entertainingly compatible style of comedy. This is a movie that feels very lived in from a character perspective. It really feels like there's an overlapping series of relationships and old friendships among these people. All four of these actors play friends with different past connections of varying degrees of complexity. They all have good, believable chemistry with one another, whether we're talking romantic or comedic. And then things are further rounded out by the addition of screen legends Joan Chen and Yuh-jung Youn as family members of the bride and groom, with very different views on the whole situation. Really, this whole cast just exudes comedic chaos and entertainingly orchestrated messiness that manages to feel real despite the heightened silliness of the scenario. In large part, this all works so well because the cast has such a great comedy script to work with, full of enjoyable, witty dialogue and a slew of entertaining moments of awkwardness and misunderstanding that leave you with a smile on your face throughout the film. Admittedly, The Wedding Banquet does take a little while to get going. You might initially be unsure of how the story will play as the characters and plot get set up, but once the story truly gets underway, it's pretty great. Pacing is a minor issue at times later on in the film, but even the midpoint dip in energy is easily overcome thanks to the enjoyable ensemble and funny yet heartfelt story. What initially seems like a fairly standard commercial rom-com ends up offering up far more heart than most similar films, not to mention some very relatable moments, even within the decidedly unrelatable silliness of the scenario. It's a movie that explores the messiness of life and the complex entanglements that form between friends. It highlights the fact that life rarely goes as planned, but that with the help and support of your friends, you can usually make most things work out okay. From a rom-com standpoint, The Wedding Banquet is a very funny and cute story, but that resonant, heartfelt core elevates it to a whole nother level. I really think this is going to be the big rom-com hit of 2025. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has got to be the ensemble cast. For some reason, it didn't seem like this cast was going to work as a cohesive comedic unit, but boy was I wrong on that. All four of the principal leads are wonderful, adding both humor and heart to the story with their excellent chemistry and comedic know-how. The extra family additions are just the cherries on top of this already immensely enjoyable ensemble. Pro number two is the script. The plot may have been drawn from Ang Lee's 1993 film, but this script manages to make the story its own. Again, humor and heart are deftly combined here, with entertaining interactions among characters, as well as some very funny and witty dialogue. My notebook was full of great one-liners and quotes after watching this one. Everything here is imbued with a type of chaotic, messy energy, but it really works when it all comes together. On the con side, the only issue of note is the pacing. It's a relatively minor problem, but still one that's occasionally noticeable throughout the runtime. The film gets off to a bit of a slow start, and then the catalyst that sets the story in motion is conversely rushed through. The pacing's also a little slack towards the end of the second act, but the movie's more than able to make up for it, so it's really not that huge of a deal in the grand scheme of the film. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying The Wedding Banquet or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give The Wedding Banquet 4 out of 5 paws. This movie is gonna be this year's big, cute, romantic comedy with underlying heart. A reimagined update of the 1993 film, this is a consistently funny yet emotional story of family, friendship, and the complexity of relationships. I would recommend The Wedding Banquet to anybody looking for a good modern romantic comedy that captures the chaotic nature of life and the messiness of close relationships. Anybody will be able to relate to and get a lot of enjoyment out of this film. But if you're in the mood for a solid queer rom-com, you especially don't want to miss this. I know remakes can be a bit tough to recommend sometimes, but this is one of those rare cases where I think fans of the original will probably like the remake almost as much, because it really does take the basic concept and makes it its own thing. If you liked The Wedding Banquet, I would recommend Crazy Rich Asians. The core plot is quite different, but this is another film that comedically highlights wedding culture shock while also delivering a cute, extremely funny, and enduringly feel-good kind of rom-com story. If you'd like another entertaining yet earnest queer romantic comedy, you should watch Saving Face. Once again starring Joan Chen as a mother who has to come to terms with her daughter's sexuality, this is another film that explores cultural traditions, values, and family in the comedic context of an unusual scenario and living situation. And if you want another rom-com about a green card marriage, you might want to check out The Proposal. Sandra Bullock plays a Canadian publishing executive who convinces her assistant, Ryan Reynolds, to marry her so that she can get a green card. In classic rom-com fashion, misunderstandings escalate, plans comedically spin out of control, and love blooms from animosity. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen The Wedding Banquet? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite queer rom-com? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.